Hi, my name is John Borshoff, and I'm the Managing Director, CEO of DYL, a uranium company focusing its efforts in Namibia in Africa and in Australia. We've had a great sort of progression in the last 7 years since I took over management of this company, and what we set out to do when we raised that $15 million in 2017, we have stuck to the knitting and developed team priority and expanded, discovered Tumas really to its size, and acquired through Vimy a fantastic project in Western Australia. So we argue that we've got the only company with genuine greenfield development possibility that can get into production before 2030. That's deeply chunk. And so place on this.
Oh yeah, good. So we're here at W Management.
Yeah, that's weird.
You are stacked and paid, and yes, it's so delighted you were able to pass into it.
Right.
Man who says what he's going to do and does what he said he's going to do. It seems you played it differently from everyone else.
Well, yes, it was sort of it's a sort of a second rodeo, with Paladin. It was sort of contrarian to demand. There was nobody was building reactors, and we acquired the projects, and then before that China phenomenon back in the early 2000s, we already had the two greenfield projects parked, and which was Langer Heinrich and Kayelekera. So that China phenomena, and we capitalized on it, and the rest is history. So comes the sort of second phase of my involvement in uranium, or third really, took over the management of Deep Yellow, and very clearly it was a vision that I thought the weakness of the whole industry was essentially a broken down supply sector, not through anyone's fault, but through the consequences of Chernobyl and Fukushima and the wreckage that happened out of that, and left these sort of half a dozen companies that had assets but couldn't raise money, and on that I thought, bloody hell, there's a huge dynamic here that if I got my team together, that we were the only ones that have built mines in that last era. And through organic growth, which was Namibia, and through consolidation, which was the Vimy merger, we could assemble a sort of multi-mine, multi-jurisdiction company. And blow me down comes this huge turnaround, which dwarfs the China phenomenon of the early 2000s, and what has happened in the last even the last 12 months. And here we are, positioned perfectly with two projects on the conveyor belt development. We've raised money, substantial amount of money. We've got project financing we're looking at, detailed engineering, and I'm confident we'll be then sort of executing on that and building that team out even further.
I think about a year ago, people said, "Oh, is this like the last cycle? Is it like this?" It's better than the last cycle. Yeah. The Chinese are still got a big role in terms of the demand. We can see that, and reactor extensions across the years, new builds, etc. SMRs. The demand is there, and I don't think we need to go over that all grand. The supply thing concerns me, right? You hit on one of the reasons, and you always said this today from 2019. They said, there's just not enough of the right sort of people that are yet stubbed into production. Do you still believe?
Yes, I firmly believe it. There's two issues now. I believe the utilities over the last 15 years, through predatory pricing, through using the inventory as a bloody hammer, and keeping prices down, they virtually put the industry to its knees. And the whole feature of that period was price. So then what you ended up is the industry that we have today. Before 2023 for sure, where people could raise money.
Yeah.
They couldn't even raise money to finish off their feasibility study, apart from a few exceptions. So now the industry is not now for the utilities to say, oh, somehow things will happen. They have to engage in security of supply. They have to recapitalise the industry. That has to be through high prices of uranium, because it is not just eking out a little bit of production out of Paladin, a little bit out of Boss. It is a whole new world of production that has to come with a whole muscled up supply sector. And I see that supply sector is still a long way from actually becoming that. And I don't see the sort of big multinationals coming in and say, oh, we'll try this uranium, where they've got people and they've got resources. So it's weaker than what people understand. And then everybody tends to say, oh, bloody Borshoff, he's saying it's a fact. It's a fact. There's no industry as pummeled as the supply and sector. No industry that people have left the industry. And you have, in the last 9 months, your demand has gone up unbelievably. And even if not all of that gets activated, when you look at the supply, Sleepy Hollow, nothing's happened. And I'm not talking about the Paladins and the Bosses. And the MacArthurs. These are mothball projects that are just now replicating what mine production was in 2012, 150 million pounds. Not one of them is contributing to additive pounds. You give me the replacive pounds from the underfeeding that is evaporating. So where the hell is this new production going to happen? And in terms of, I don't need any production from 2026, and I don't need any bloody hell. In terms of time, 2030 is tomorrow. Yeah. In terms of mining, in terms of organising, and I always say that it's not that whatever that Costa movie was where he built that field of dreams. Yeah. It's not we will build it and they will come. No. People have to put money into it to build this industry, and that's why. The Chinese are so aggressive, because they are working today to what they need in 2035, 2040, 2045. Yeah. And these guys are looking about, what are we going to do to 2030? I've got enough. And, the big thing, out of this field. So the industry is made up of government people, essentially. Yeah. And a lot of the big utilities are quasi-government. And so growth, we'll do that. Let's have a look at that bloody spreadsheet, and all of this sort of shit. Out come these hyperscalers, the Microsofts. Yep. And they've seen now, with these data centers, they want power. And these are not guys that take no for an answer. They've got money. Mm. They go to these utilities and say, look, I want a powerhouse. And some clean energy. Yeah. Where it almost immediately, yeah. And I don't want to take it off the grid. I wanted an extension cord from that bloody power station into my place. Yeah. And I don't want it on the grid. So there's a different type of person. Yeah. That is asking now. So we'll pay $30 billion and bloody get it. And I think that. And some of those SMR have got entrepreneurs as well. I've always said that the industry, what it lacks, is an Elon Musk. They're the bloody movers. Here's sleepy bloody NASA spending trillions. Yeah. Could hardly get something up in the air and never mind back at this guy in a matter of 10 years. Yeah. I'm not only going to get it up, I'll land it vertically, and I'll take off again. And while I'm doing that, I've got this sort of Starlink idea. So he's loaded the bloody whole world with it. So that's what you need. Yeah, that can do attitude. Yes. You say, I see some data points to back you up there. I think in terms of pounds bought in the last 2 years, US, £2 million, Europe, £2 million, and I think
48 million. Like these are government acquisitions, right? So 84 billion. So like plus 22 million more being pulled by the Chinese, buying into the future, as it were. Kind of coming back to this kind of supply demand thing, and this kind of beaten up supply group of people who are terrified of making decisions. So how does it become a seller's market and not remain a buyer's market? The utility still seems to, from the conversations I've had, it feels like it's still a buyer's market, and that feels wrong.
Yeah.
Scarcity should change that, surely.
So the analogy I often use is the grieving process. When you lose a dear one.
Yeah.
With the utilities, if it was the dear one was cheap bloody uranium. So all of a sudden that dies, and then you go through 7 stages of grieving, denial, anger, bargaining, and finally acceptance. We haven't reached the acceptance stage. And everybody that I've seen that looks at the problem, they look at it through a very narrow window. They look at it and say, oh yeah, we've added up here, and by 2030 we'll need 180 million pounds, 243 at 247 pounds. I know. That's not worth jack of shit. You know what I mean? What you've got to look at is to say, oh look, it's 150 million pounds to date. Some projections put it that by 2040, and I'm not here talking about accuracy and that's it, but it'll be 250, 300 million pounds. Yeah. And meanwhile, you've got all these new reactors coming in. So never mind what you're going to put in 2045. So here we go. You got 150 million pounds today. That's going to go by late 40s, at least planning in greenfields and building and pouring concrete. The industry has to be able to produce around 250 to 300 million pounds. Yeah. And don't argue to me that, oh no, we don't need it in 2038, we need it in 2043. This is in the corrugation of life. So, in that period, the 150 million pound today is going to go to 100 million pound because there will be deterioration. Yeah. So you have to find another 50 million pounds, replace it, and another 150 million pounds new per annum. Yeah. Per annum. Yeah. So you sit around and you say, okay, well that's okay. Now, and by 2035 to 40, McCarthy's run out. For stage 1 of cigars running out. You're looking at what's happening with Kazatomprom. Forget about their issues, but even on their projection, it goes down to the low areas. And that's where the industry really has to say, this is unacceptable.
It's just predictable.
Yeah, and predictable. And to not deny that we really need to get our act together, and that how much capitalisation does it need to get... Look, in this context, what we've got, what NextGen is, it's a nothing. It's a drop in the ocean to what is needed year after year if we're going to grow an industry, even if it doesn't achieve those targets by 2050. By 2060 it will. By 2070 it will. Yeah. And that's where I think that denying that look down, denying, and then just to address the type of exploration companies we need that are not just feeding on $5 million raising, and then just going out there and they've just started, oh shit, I better go back and get some more. Yeah. These have got to be muscled up little exploration companies raising 20 million at a pop. Yeah. Experimenting, trying, and all of a sudden through that, discovering things which a larger company wouldn't discover. For discoveries in 2035 that we need in 2045. So you've got to
parallel work your way back.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
And I'm doing that. And I think I had an interesting conversation because with copper, but the same rules apply here, which is saying, oh, we need 180 billion bucks in the sector. I was like, well, it's nothing. So, I was going to say it's quite a lot. I'm like, what are you scared about? If you go to a Microsoft, or you go to any of these tech companies who say, I need a couple of $100 billion, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to guarantee me all the energy I need for the next 50 years. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your money. That's the kind of conversation. But because mine is such small space, we're terrified of asking, okay, 5 million, 2 million to start. So it just feels it's disjointed.
It is
unpredictable.
Yeah. And that's why I think whether the Microsofts and the Alphabets and Amazons are going to get into the space that are more serious to say, well, geez, I'll invest in survives.
Yeah.
I'll invest in the fuel cycle.
Yeah.
And protect my supply chain.
Yeah.
And this will be forced on people.
Yeah.
It'll be absolutely because in a way that approach is already there, and people can see it. And with the Chinese example, this marvelous thing they've got where they take all the rare earths, control it, and affect the rest of the globe. They've done it with nickel.
Yeah.
They've done it with lithium.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to happen with uranium, and they're already sucking it out of every available space. It reminds me of those bloody lions, that sit in the David Attenborough movies, and there's an animal, sort of, he's killed, he's done a great job, done a bit of blood there, he's eaten a bit, and then he's just sitting there looking up at the sky, and the bloody hyenas are right pulling it right under their noses. And this is what the Chinese are doing. They are setting themselves up for a vision, and you cannot beat that. You cannot beat that with short-termism on, I like pricing cheap prices is a thing of the past. Security of supply is absolutely what it's all about.
Yeah.
And to invest, to have enough money for capitalizing this industry, which has to look completely different than what it is today, where there's supply companies of a size that match the demand equation.
Okay, so the buyer's market has bloodied suppliers being able to deliver into the near term and the future. There's not that many companies. I want to go back to the original point you made, which is not that many companies talking the game of getting into production, can build, know how to build, know how to operate. And that's a problem, I think.
Yes.
Because whatever number of supply we think is coming down ain't coming down as high.
No.
Right? Do you agree?
Well, it isn't, because I think that, you look at Paladin, it's doing well, and I'm glad, because as far as I'm concerned, Lake Heinrich is my project. And it's proved that mine is good, and they're plugging away. Others will have issues. Some will not do as well. Not through anything, but that's the pure. You just look at the casualty of ramp-up, and how that happens. So I think the prediction of 10 million pounds, 5 million pounds, 3 million pounds, and adding it up, it's not going to work. You got to take 30% off that, and then you look at what the equation is. So that's yet to come into full effect in terms of what's going on. Encore, they've done a great job.
Yeah.
They put their money where their mouth is, and bam, it's not going to be a huge supply company, but a good, decent one.
Yeah.
Yes, and the others are still. URE, John Bash is doing bloody well. Small, and the others.
Yep.
This, I will, untested, and that's a big risk.
But that's the problem with the US stuff. It's all like, and some of them are really like real day. You don't want to talk about that. They're actually getting coffee in a concert. It's not gonna fix the problem.
No.
You then got the Canadians and saying, right, they want to kind of be able to move through the phases, but we kind of got, as is happening globally, lots of problems, First Nations issues, permitting, licensing, technological, people, time, cost of money. The list goes on. But that's not going to solve for the problem either. So I don't know where this 200 million of additional new production is going to come from between now and 2040. Because if I add it up, and even if I came down with numbers every year, if I added it up, even the numbers, if I believe the numbers, which I don't, we're still not going to do it.
Yeah.
So how do you play this market? I know how you're playing it, but what?
So essentially, people have got to work today for what they see tomorrow at 15 years' time. That's not for what they see in their short little career lives. And, but I'm sort of half worrying about that. I've got 3-4 years and then, but it's not setting up and how others won't set up and that you will. But everybody should be in that condition. Everybody should be thinking and giving confidence to the downstream people that, look, we are capable, we will do it, and we're sort of able. But when you look at the greenfield deposits in the world today, there's a handful.
Yeah.
There's I'll include and I'll be sort of generous. There's the Bannerman ones. There's ours.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. There's Next Gen, Fission, and that's it.
That's the biggies, right? There's a few.
But they're not going to change this equation.
Yeah.
So now you got to say, well, where are the and then Kazada comes, oh yeah, we'll be down, it's 1 million pounds and 2 million. The picture is huge than that. It's these guys have got to go. If you're looking at where they are today, if you're looking at those projections of where demand is going to go to, from 60 million, these guys have to go to 120 million to keep their share. Cameco has to go to 40 million from 20, or whatever it is, 25 to 50.
Yeah.
Plus replacing the ones that are running out of juice. So where's that? Where's the others? So I see fantastic opportunity. I believe that there is uranium out there. And that red book tells you there is. It's a very strategic document, and that should give confidence to the nuclear utilities that it's there. It's just a matter of focusing all this energy, development energy, exploration, and converting that into realisable output. Right, and that's a big job. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody. There's still, how much? I don't. They're shitting in their own nest by not supporting developers to give you sustainability over the long term. And that's why I've been very, very, very focused to say I'm looking for 30-year plus deposit.
Right.
That's what the industry...
The same thing's happened in other sectors like copper, lithium, etc., where car manufacturers, they just go and buy whatever they needed from naval traders, right? Now, they're going upstream and taking positions at lithium companies, nickel companies, and in battery manufacturers up to that too. And because they're unsure of where it's going to drop, they can see the supplying issues. You just don't have that uranium yet. I think, clearly, as you're saying, there's a lot of big problems coming down the line, and if we don't deal with it now, maybe replacement technologies will have to be considered. The Chinese are already looking at thorium.
Thorium will be such a bloody small part of the equation. I mean, the Indians have been trying it for ages. It's got sort of natural limitation. Bring it on. Do you need more and more of that stuff? And if it's ever a realization in the last 12 months, it's the marginalization of renewables. It's the realization of this overhyped ideological approach that let's get something for nothing, and we're gonna plow everything we've got, and essentially feeding 25% of your sort of electricity cycle. And people are saying, "Oh, it's not going to work. All right. We need more gas." And ultimately it needs more nuclear because it's an emission-free system.
Yeah.
So you cannot now say, oh well, renewables are the saviour. They're not. They're absolutely not. It just all the economic models, all the
50%. I was just in Spain. Nearly 50% here in the UK. Etc.
Yes, but for how long of a day? What are you talking about? I mean, you get a nuclear reactor or a gas pipe power plant, it works for 95% of the day. Till you break power. You get these bloody things, 50%. This bullshit what you're saying, but you get 50% at the peak of the 4 hours that it's delivering. What about the other stuff that where it does deliver? You reckon a battery's going to do it? No, never. And so the hydrogen models that have sort of been put out of it. So I think renewables are an important part.
But just that.
Just that.
Okay. Let's get on to, I'm conscious of the time, because you on
Jesus, I'm just about done.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I guess, we'll get it. Well, you talk about money, okay? Money, you've got the money you need. You raise money easily.
Yes.
When you wanted it, it was there for you. That's good news. The other side of money is stock markets. Uranium companies getting battered.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely hammered. There's a sort of, I don't know if it's the wrong social university, we're attracted to it and they're shot off.
It's just disconnection. Right?
Yes, but everywhere it's just, so you kind of got that. So we've got the value of your company, which is extraordinary, but share price being knocked because the people's perception of what it is in quick bucks or something. Disconnect between industry and the ability to actually supply the demand going on. And we talked about, well, where the hell's the money going to come from to these explorers anyway when they want to do something, right? So it's a mess. It's a mess. So my question to you is, I think I understand where you're at the moment. So where, you redid the DFS, you understand the cost base now, you're going through the phase also with Mulga Rock, etc. And you believe that you've got the right team to be able to build this thing and supply it to market. You feel quite confident. I suspect the market feels you're going to deliver as well. So it's great for you, isn't it?
Yes. So it's a hard road.
Yeah,
for anybody. And but we've got a good bank mandated for the project financing.
Yeah.
They have declared that one of the reasons why they feel comfortable supporting us in that is that was the team that we delivered on Langer and Kaymakera.
So that's the number one thing.
Yes, absolutely, people.
Okay.
And and we're now having other banks coming around saying, look, we'll chip in as well. So the question for us is that how much debt do we want to take?
Yeah.
And I won't go into depth with that, but it's I don't believe it's a question of the funding. It's the question of the balance of those instruments that we'll get out there. And then we've got to think about that as we're delivering on Tumas, we've got to look at the condition of the company, its balance sheet, as it will look when we want to fund Mulga Rock. There's no good going hell bet for leather there. Yeah. And then you think, oh hell, we can't get correct free cash flow out of that because of the constraints of debt or whatever. So we've got to model our financing and approach for Tumas in the context of over the 5 years with Mulga Rock coming in as well. Yeah. And so those parameters, and I think we'll achieve those. And there's people that are willing to back. What is happening now is there's more and more strategics coming in and saying, "Oh, look, I'll buy 25% of your project." And
that's the question I want to ask you. It's like when you get a market like this where there's this disconnect, understanding of what's needed, where supply is coming from, scarcity. People don't talk about scarcity.
That right? Yeah.
So I don't think there's an honest set of numbers out there. The rent price is going to have to move. That should impact your market cap, your share price, but
no,
right? So when you put financing together, you don't want to do it on the basis of what the share price is, because it's unfair.
And it's done on the economics of the project.
Brilliant.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can afford to sort of, yes, it's always a pain, but people have got to believe in that delivery of value.
Yeah.
It's got to be that with the offtakes, you're not flipping the upside, and that they can see that with the price where it's going to go, that you haven't sort of sacrificed today for something tomorrow.
Where are you with the offtakes? Where are you?
We've just started to talk to people. And
you've got all this fun being done. People always talk to you about project financing without an offtake.
Yes.
Because which is It completely opposite of the sizes other countries.
Yes, yes.
Couldn't do that.
So what we say is, by the time the drawdown happens, we will have the offtakes, but not these people that go out there and recently and put out an offtake for somehow it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessary. I think concentrate on the viability of the project, the doability of it, the delivery of it, and then when these things come together, those ducks line up, and you have the amount of offtake that you need to support whatever you're doing.
So and I know you've got to go because you're go on, hot time. When you sort of look back over the last 5 years of content, certainly the time that we've been talking, I loved our first meeting ever. You called it, and I don't think you're waiting for this. And when you look at some of the kind of commentary in fitness space, can people purporting to know what they're doing, and that's the kind of they're always finding some of the time. Are there folks that you think, well, maybe you've learned a lesson or something, think, oh, actually, they're quite intelligent? I mean, how do you view the rest of the sector? And that's, if you've not done it before, it's hard. But
look, it is hard. There's some teams building up now. Some of them are going to face their reality as they have to do something.
Yeah.
And not just go down.
Not talk about it.
Not talk about go down the halls of Washington and who got your photo taken with.
Yeah. So yes, and others are running up with war
for nothing in terms of building project. You got what I mean? So
I think,
and I'm not a proponent of people buying inventory. I just think that's a complete distraction on what you're about. You're there to produce. With Paladin, when we came in, it was a new boy on the block. We didn't have any inventory. We just trusted that we could kick goals and so on. Because if you want inventory, invest in spud, in yellow cake.
Yeah.
So I think these issues of halfway house, a little bit here, and all of there, and what they should be devoting on is pure getting these projects to production, or believable that they're going to.
But you're a purist in that sense. I think other people had to do what they needed to do to survive and stay relevant. It's hard in the public markets as well, because you get judged on something weird criteria.
Yeah. Look, it's hard. Everybody realizes it's hard. But the guys that haven't built something,
that just worked out,
they've got to sort of say, well, how the hell are we going to do that? How are we going to give confidence? A hedge fund having a confidence that you're going to build is no endorsement.
Because they don't
know it. It's absolutely, it's just shit. And so basically you got to say, well, look, in 80 years of nuclear history, there's only been 3 juniors outside of the US that actually have built mines.
Are they still here, we wonder?
Well, Denison is in from this fabulous company in the 50s to a sort of a real sort of shadow of itself.
Yeah.
Queensland Mines in Australia was just a hot shot, one bit bomb finished up, and spectacularly Paladin. Nobody else. Look at what's happened in the lithium game. Like dozens of bloody mines have gone up. And there, people didn't build. So you've got to look at it in terms of going forward. What is that sort of mortality? Why is it? It's not going to be as much like that, but that is something that you defy history with. And so to convince your investor, you've got to do things that demonstrably show that you're aware of that issue, you acknowledge it, and this is what I've done to counter it. And not deny it, just say, oh, well, it's just going to happen.
I think
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating as ever. It's fascinating as ever. I look forward to seeing what you get. So what are we looking forward to from you for the next 12 months?
Fed decision at the end of this year.
Yeah.
A financing that'll package out to start the completion of our Mulga Rock DFS in the latter part of next year, which will then phase into and then building. Early work starts late this year.
Building.
Yeah, building.
That off, man. Good. John, thank you so much for your time for us. Love to meet you as ever. And I think there's a long ways to run in this cycle. We're going to go again, aren't we?
That's absolutely.
That's it.